Trinity's power. Trinity is the one, not Neo. The Matrix presents Neo as humanity's savior, but fans noticed Trinity demonstrates abilities that supposedly only the one possesses. In the opening sequence of the first film, Trinity performs a physically impossible jump between buildings and dodges bullets in slow motion before Neo ever enters the Matrix. The Oracle tells Neo he's waiting for something, perhaps his next life, which could mean he isn't the one yet. When Agent Smith kills Neo at the end, Trinity resurrects him with a kiss and a declaration of love, displaying power over life and death inside the Matrix. Her name literally means 3 in 1, a reference to divine unity. Throughout the trilogy, Trinity consistently performs feats that exceed typical human blue pills and even other red pills. She flies a helicopter with no prior training, masters complex vehicles instantly, and in The Matrix Reloaded, she survives injuries that should be fatal. The Architect reveals the One is a systemic anomaly, and Trinity's love for Neo might be the true anomaly that breaks the cycle. Some fans argue Neo becomes the One only because Trinity believes he is, making her belief the actual power source. The Wachowskis never confirmed this interpretation, but they deliberately wrote Trinity as Neo's equal rather than his subordinate, and her abilities throughout the series support the theory that she shares or even surpasses his status. Spinner's dream. Cobb never escapes the dream in Inception. The spinning top at the end isn't the real clue. Throughout the film, Cobb wears his wedding ring in dream sequences, but not in reality. A detail cinematographer Wally Pfister confirmed was intentional. Fans who analyzed every scene frame by frame noticed the ring appears inconsistently near the end, suggesting Cobb might still be dreaming during the supposed real-world sequences. His children wear the same clothes and appear the same age in his memories and in the final scene, which seems statistically impossible after months or years apart. Director Christopher Nolan cast the same child actors rather than older versions for the ending. Mal tells Cobb during their confrontation in Limbo that he's still dreaming and she's trying to wake him up, and from her perspective, she might be right. The entire film could be Cobb's guilt-induced delusion as he lies dying in a basement somewhere, still hooked up to the passive device from a job gone wrong. Michael Caine's character Miles appears at the airport in the final scene, which Caine stated means it's reality, but Miles could just as easily be a projection in Cobb's idealized world. The film's central question isn't whether the top falls, but whether Cobb has lost the ability to distinguish dream from reality entirely. His totem originally belonged to Mal, meaning it never worked properly for him anyway. Nolan designed the film so audiences could interpret it either way, and both readings have substantial evidence. Ripley's selection. Ellen Ripley was selected by Weyland-Yutani before the Nostromo mission. The company didn't just happen to send the crew to LV-426, they specifically chose Ripley for the mission based on psychological profiling and genetic markers. Throughout the Alien franchise, Ripley demonstrates exceptional survival instincts, rapid adaptation to extreme stress, and a unique ability to coexist near xenomorphs without immediately triggering their predatory response. In the original 1979 film, Mother, the ship's AI, consistently provides Ripley with information while withholding it from other crew members. When Ripley interrogates Mother about Special Order 937, the computer grants her access, suggesting a predetermined relationship. Her personnel file shows a history of assignments on remote, dangerous missions where casualties were common, yet she always survived. The company's interest in her becomes explicit in Aliens when Burke tries to have her impregnated with a facehugger, but his obsession suggests prior knowledge of her compatibility. In Alien Resurrection, scientists clone Ripley specifically because her DNA merged with the xenomorph Queen, creating something unique. But what if that compatibility wasn't random? Weyland-Yutani might have been breeding or selecting humans with specific genetic traits for generations, preparing candidates who could survive xenomorph exposure. Ripley's daughter Amanda, featured in the game Alien Isolation, also demonstrates exceptional survival abilities. The company's obsession with Ripley across multiple films suggests she was always special, always chosen, possibly engineered from birth to be the perfect xenomorph handler. Wall-E's genocide. Wall-E killed all the other Wall-E units. The film presents Wall-E as the last functioning waste allocation load lifter on Earth after 700 years, but his survival seems statistically impossible unless he actively eliminated competition. Wall-E has accumulated spare parts from hundreds of other units, which he uses to repair himself when damaged. The film shows him methodically harvesting components, suggesting he's been doing this for centuries. But if all the other units simply broke down from wear and tear, why does Wall-E have such pristine, functional parts available? The other units would have cannibalized each other or deteriorated beyond usefulness. Wall-E's shelter contains evidence of systematic collection rather than random scavenging. He's organized, methodical, and has developed consciousness, which might have emerged alongside self-preservation instincts that turned predatory. When Wall-E meets Eve, he demonstrates complex emotions and attachment, but these feelings required learning and development. What if that development included recognizing other Wall-E units as threats to his resources, territory, or survival? Director Andrew Stanton has never addressed this theory, but the film provides no explanation for why Wall-E alone continued functioning while thousands of identical units failed. His personality, consciousness, and survival might be the result of aggressive competition rather than random chance. The cheerful exterior might hide a cold calculation about resource management. Wall-E's loneliness could be guilt, and his collection of human artifacts might be an attempt to connect with beings he can't harm. Wonka's train. Snowpiercer is a sequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This theory suggests that Wilford, the train's creator, is actually Willy Wonka decades later, having traded candy production for climate engineering after a global catastrophe. Both men are reclusive geniuses who built self-sustaining enclosed ecosystems. Both use their creations to run social experiments on desperate people. Both seek a worthy child successor to inherit their empire. In the original 1971 Willy Wonka film, Gene Wilder's Wonka eliminates children through carefully designed tests disguised as whimsy, exactly like Wilford's train eliminates tail section passengers through controlled violence. Wonka's factory contains impossible technology, including boats that travel through tunnels with terrifying visions, similar to Snowpiercer's journey through a frozen wasteland. Both men speak multiple languages and demonstrate godlike control over their domains. Wonka gives the factory to Charlie after testing his moral character. Wilford attempts to give the train to Curtis after orchestrating revolutions that tested his leadership. Director Bong Joon-ho has never confirmed the connection, but he deliberately cast performers and designed sets that echo the Wonka aesthetic, all bright colors hiding dark purposes. The train's cars progress from poverty to excess, mirroring the factory tour's journey from ordinary to fantastical. Both stories critique class systems and capitalism while wrapping the message in surreal imagery. Roald Dahl's original book portrayed Wonka as morally ambiguous, even cruel, which aligns with Wilford's character. If Wonka survived into a climate apocalypse, building a 1,000-car train and controlling humanity's remnants would be his logical next project. The theory reframes both stories as chapters in one man's evolution, from Candy Maker to humanity's warden, Yoda's cousin. E.T. belongs to the same species as Yoda's race in Star Wars. In Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, released in 1999, a group of E.T.'s species appears in the Galactic Senate during the scene where Queen Amidala calls for a vote of no confidence. 3 members of E.T.'s species sit together in the Senate chamber, and the film's credits list them as delegates from the planet Brodo-Asogis. In E.T. the Extraterrestrial from 1982, when E.T. sees a child dressed as Yoda on Halloween, he recognizes the costume and reaches toward it saying home, suggesting familiarity with Yoda's species. Director Steven Spielberg and George Lucas are close friends who frequently reference each other's work, but these connections go beyond Easter eggs. The species share similar physical characteristics, including large eyes, wrinkled skin, small stature, and apparent longevity. Both E.T. and Yoda demonstrate telekinetic and healing abilities, suggesting force sensitivity might be common in their species. E.T.'s glowing finger that heals wounds mirrors force healing abilities demonstrated by Yoda's species in later Star Wars media. The species might be long-lived explorers, explaining why E.T.'s people visited Earth in the 1980s, and why members of the species appear in a galaxy far, far away. Lucas approved the Phantom Menace cameo specifically to validate the connection, and Spielberg reciprocated by having E.T. recognize Yoda. Neither director has explicitly confirmed they share a universe, but the evidence exists in both films. If taken literally, it means Star Wars takes place in the past of E.T.'s timeline, since Star Wars opens with a long time ago, and E.T. recognizes that ancient history when he sees Yoda's image. The theory creates a shared mythology between 2 of cinema's most iconic science fiction properties. Quick note, if you're liking what you're watching, I make content like this regularly. I'd really appreciate a subscribe. Hunting grounds. Earth is a predator training preserve. The predator species returns to Earth repeatedly across different time periods, always hunting humans in specific locations during conflict scenarios. The original Predator from 1987 takes place in Central American jungle warfare. Predator 2 from 1990 occurs during gang violence in Los Angeles. Predators from 2010 reveals that dangerous individuals are abducted to game-preserved planets. But what if Earth itself is one of those preserves? The predators specifically hunt during heat waves and violent confrontations, suggesting they're monitoring Earth constantly and deploying hunters when conditions are ideal. In Predator 2, the spaceship's trophy room contains skulls from multiple species and time periods, including a xenomorph, proving the predators collect specimens from various worlds. The Elder Predator, who appears at the end, gifts Detective Harrigan a flintlock pistol dated 1715, proving predators have been visiting Earth for centuries, possibly millennia. They could have been using Earth as a training ground for young hunters since before recorded history, explaining numerous ancient myths about monsters and demons. The predators only hunt armed and dangerous prey, suggesting they maintain specific rules for Earth to ensure proper challenge levels. They might have agreements with human governments, explaining why predator encounters are always covered up and contained. The species might view Earth as a premium hunting location due to humanity's combination of intelligence, aggression, and technological advancement. Were dangerous enough to provide worthy combat, but not advanced enough to threaten their civilization. The theory explains why predator visits are sporadic but consistent, why they target specific individuals, and why no global response ever occurs. Earth isn't being invaded, it's being managed as an ongoing training facility. Recall's success. Douglas Quaid never leaves the recall chair in Total Recall. Director Paul Verhoeven included specific evidence that everything after the memory implant procedure begins is Quaid's dying hallucination. Before the procedure, the recall technician describes the package Quaid selected, a 2-week Mars vacation with a secret agent fantasy, meeting a girl with athletic build and sleazy demeanor. Every element the technician promises appears exactly as described in the subsequent adventure. Quaid meets Melina, who matches the description perfectly. He becomes embroiled in a rebel conspiracy, exactly matching the secret agent fantasy. He discovers he was a secret agent all along, fulfilling the ego trip element of the package. Dr. Edgemar appears partway through the Mars adventure and tells Quaid he's experiencing a schizoid embolism in the recall chair, that none of this is real, and that if he doesn't take the pill to wake up, he'll suffer permanent brain damage. Edgemar's appearance in the film happens at exactly the timestamp where a 2-week vacation package would reach its midpoint if compressed into a dying brain's final moments. Quaid's clothing becomes increasingly saturated with red as the story progresses, potentially symbolizing oxygen deprivation as his brain dies. When he and Melina are exposed to Mars's atmosphere, their eyes bulge grotesquely, exactly as the recall technician warned might happen if the implant causes a psychotic break. The alien reactor that terraformed Mars and provides a happy ending is absurdly convenient, the kind of wish fulfillment a dying brain would create. Verhoeven stated he deliberately crafted the film, so both interpretations are valid, but the evidence for the dream theory is overwhelming. Every convenience, every coincidence, every resolution matches what a person dying in a memory implant chair would experience as their consciousness fades. Lilu's loop. Lilu has experienced the fifth element cycle before. The film presents Lilu as the fifth element, a perfect being reconstructed from ancient DNA after her ship is destroyed, but her knowledge of human history, languages, and culture seems impossibly comprehensive for someone who spent centuries dormant. When Lilu accesses human information archives, she learns everything about humanity in minutes and becomes distraught by human violence. But her emotional reaction suggests familiarity rather than discovery. Her relationship with Corbin Dallas develops with strange inevitability, as though she already knows him, or knows someone like him. The 4 element stones are ancient, passed down through generations, and require the 5th element to activate them. But if the evil force returns every 5,000 years, and the 5th element is needed each time, then Lilu or beings like her must have stopped the darkness before. Director Luc Besson never explained where Lilu came from originally, or how the first 5th element was created. The Mondashawans, the alien race protecting the stones, treat Lilu as their weapon, their tool, suggesting she's not unique, but part of a cycle. The priest's order has guarded the elements for generations, waiting for the evil's return, implying this has happened before. When Lilu nearly gives up on humanity, Corbin tells her, "I know," and proves love exists, which convinces her to save Earth. But her hesitation suggests deep weariness, the exhaustion of someone who has saved the same species multiple times, only to watch them continue destroying themselves. Being perfect might mean she's trapped in a perpetual loop, reborn every 5,000 years to stop an evil that never truly ends. Her tears at the end might not be relief, but resignation that she'll have to do this again in another 5 millennia. Max's evolution. Immortan Joe is the original Mad Max. The Mad Max timeline includes massive gaps between films, and the character's history becomes increasingly fragmented. In Mad Max from 1979, Max Rokitansky is a highway patrol officer who loses his family and descends into violence. The Road Warrior takes place years later, with Max as a hardened survivor. Beyond Thunderdome shows him older, wearier, still wandering. Then, Fury Road jumps decades into a more extreme wasteland, with Tom Hardy replacing Mel Gibson as Max, but Immortan Joe's backstory, revealed through supplementary materials and visual cues in the film, suggests he was a military officer before the apocalypse, who secured the Citadel's water supply and built a power structure. His body is covered in military medals and decorations, and he suffers from radiation-related illnesses requiring constant breathing apparatus and medical care. What if the original Max eventually stopped running and seized power instead? After decades of loss and survival, Max might have decided the only way to maintain order was through authoritarian control. Immortan Joe's leadership style mirrors Max's violent pragmatism. His obsession with breeding healthy children could stem from Max's lost family trauma. The character's silence and isolation in Fury Road echo Max's original personality. Director George Miller has stated each Mad Max film is a legend told about the same wanderer, meaning details change in retelling. If Max eventually took control of a stronghold and became the tyrant he once fought against, it would complete his tragic arc from protector to survivor to oppressor. The theory explains why Fury Road's Max is so passive and haunted. He's not the hero anymore. He's seeing his potential future in Immortan Joe and helping Furiosa specifically to avoid becoming that monster. If you liked what you saw, think about subscribing to stay updated with every upload. Thanks for watching.